Welcome to Pay Attention, a podcast guiding you from the chaos of the mind to the clarity of the heart. Here's your host, Holly McNEILL.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So today we're going to be coming to you, well, I'm in sunny Southern California, but we're going to be coming to you from the place that I went to college, the place where my kids are, where I raised my kids, the Twin Cities of Minneapolis. So I can't go through this podcast without mentioning what's happening right now, the heaviness that everybody's feeling. I've had people say, more than one person tell me that it feels heavier, so much heavier than even COVID did. And there's a quote by Eckhart Tolle that says, "The world is not here to make us happy. It's here to wake us up. But even waking up doesn't ease that grief, that sadness, that fear that everyone is feeling, a lot of people are feeling, I shouldn't speak for everyone, in Minneapolis, around our country and perhaps around the world right now." So today's conversation is on healing. It's on building a bridge between science, lived experience, and contemplative practices. I will be attending the Society for Effective Sciences conference in March in Pittsburgh as an independent researcher, but really I come from lived experience, hitting that low point and finding my way. And I really believe that we have so many of the pieces to build that bridge. So today I'm so grateful to welcome Dr. Ann Van de Winckel, from Associate Professor at the University of Minnesota. Ann, thank you so much for joining today.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, we had a beautiful, beautiful conversation about her research that you're going to hear about shortly, but also I want to introduce another very special guest from the Bakken Center for Healing and Spirituality, Virginia Kazmarek. She's the development officer. Thank you so much for coming today.
My pleasure. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for inviting us.
Yes. So the three of us are going to be sitting here in the background. Today, Ann and I got in the studio 2 or 3 months ago to talk about her research, to talk about the amazing Bakken Center. So everyone sit back, relax, enjoy this recording, and the three of us will be here at the end to talk a little more. So thank you for coming. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pay Attention. Recently, I had this wonderful opportunity to go back to my alma mater, the University of Minnesota, and there I was able to attend the 30th anniversary of the Earl K. Bakken Center for Spirituality and Healing. I didn't even know they had a Center for Spirituality and Healing because I graduated more than 30 years ago, but I'm not going to tell you how much more. But it was an amazing experience going back home, but also at this 30th anniversary, the speaker was John Kabat-Zinn, one of the main people in my world that helped me create my work, one of my big mentors. I got to meet him as well. Just a wonderful opportunity. And beyond that, I met a beautiful lady named Ann Van de Winckel. Did I pronounce? Let me first get her on screen. Welcome, Ann, to the podcast.
Thank you.
Did I pronounce your name right?
Perfect.
Okay, I was going to ask you. I kept thinking, don't forget to ask her before we get started. Anyway, we ran into each other at the event, and she is featured in the center's Mandala. It's their quarterly magazine, and she is a SIME fellow, right? Receiving the SIME fellowship from the Bakken Center at the University of Minnesota. So I'm so excited because she's here to talk about the mind-body connection, which I love. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get to freezing cold Minnesota? I lived there for 12 years. And you're from Belgium, right?
Correct. I am from Belgium. So my background is in physical therapy. And so I did my bachelor, master, PhD, and 6 years of postdoctoral studies in Belgium.
Okay.
And then I moved to America. I moved to Minnesota to work as first assistant and now associate professor at the University of Minnesota. And so the background of how I came about to do mind body connection started actually at the very young age when I was about, I think, 4 years old. I was very intrigued by everything related to the old Japan, samurai, martial arts, geisha. And I was intrigued because it wasn't fighting sport, it was something happening. I didn't know at the time it was energy, but I wanted to know what was going on. Like, how is that power possible? And so it took me until I was 26 when I met McNEILL, which I know will come back in the story, who is my mentor for now 24 years and who taught me so much more than, the allopathic medicine and rehabilitation that I've been trained to do, in complementarity, obviously. But he let me feel what it is, energy. He helped me understand all the other complementary and integrative approaches that we can use to heal a person and to help facilitate healing of a person and bring harmony on all levels. And so he's been really my mentor for all these years, and a big part of why my life mission is to bring the Western, Eastern, and complementary and integrative medicine together to really bring help for people with chronic pain and people who have neurologic disorders. Because allopathic medicine can only go so much, but if you really combine those different approaches, then you can get to other levels. And so as I was wanting to build my lab, which is called the Brain Body Mind Lab, I'm passionate by brain function and how it all works. And so when I looked at positions here in America, I saw the University of Minnesota has the biggest MRI center in America. I knew that there was a center of spirituality and healing. So that was something that I thought, okay, Minnesota is really open to those complementary and integrative approaches. And then in the physical therapy, there were also professors who did brain imaging for rehab. So it was like the perfect place to go and
Well,
build my career.
I love that. I mean, first of all, I love your energy. We're talking about energy. We'll be talking about that a little bit more, but I just love the calm, right, that you bring. And the combination, I did not know it was the largest MRI center, or have the largest MRI center. I went to school for architecture there, obviously. But yeah, and I just recently learned about the spirituality and healing center. Not a lot of universities has such a robust program in spirituality and healing. So I just absolutely love and really am working to bring more guests on that really bring science and bridge that gap between learned experience and how we're feeling. So thank you for your work and for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to add, like Dr. Mary Jo Kreitzer, the director of the center, really is one of the foundational researchers who drove all the research also in the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, so NCCIH at the National Institute of Health. So she is one of those drivers, really foundational researchers. So I do want to commend her for all the work she has done
Yeah,
in the
I met
last
her. I
30
met her
years.
at the event, and just a completely amazing, amazing lady. Very, um, very inspirational for sure. So congratulations on your fellowship.
Thank you.
I was doing a little bit of reading on your article, and so your work, your research. So what the fellowship does is it gives you funding for your salary, but you still need to raise money for the actual research. So we can do a pitch for that at the end too, because guys, this is a great. The Bakken Center itself and her work is great. Ann's work is great place to invest, because I really believe that we are just on this verge of mind, science, mind, spirit, everything really coming together Everything on my journey, which I started out in the spiritual realm on my search, and then when science started to point back to it all, it just blew me away. So super exciting in that respect. Time to be here on this earth. So
Yeah.
and your research then is going to go into 3 parts, if I remember correctly. One of the things you had a quote in here about the mind-body connection, and how it gives you little signals at first, right? Like a little tension, muscle tension. But if you don't pay attention to it, it'll scream harder and harder. So let's talk a little bit about that. So sometimes a lot of this chronic pain, is it trying to tell us something?
Yes, yes. So the brain is made to make us survive, right? So
Yes.
at any moment in time, it's going to scan your whole body to see if you're doing well, if anything needs repair, if any intruders need to be taken care of. And so if say you're sitting for a long time in the same position, some of those muscles may tense up a little,
Mhm.
and especially if you're not in like in a in a good position.
Yeah.
And so the brain will like give you like subtle hints like, hey, you may want to like reposition yourself because those muscles are not really happy right now.
Yeah.
But if you're so focused on things or you're not paying attention to those signals, then it's gonna send you more signals, because potentially over time this could lead to injury or chronic low back pain or any of those other things. So, in the best interest of your body, it's going to send you maybe pain, maybe some spasm, maybe some other
Right.
signal. Just if you're not listening, it's going to send those stronger systems. And obviously, there is a difference between acute pain and chronic pain. So, acute pain is you have an injury, you cut yourself with a knife or something like that. So, immediately there is a pain to say, hey, pay attention to this so that you can disinfect and take the proper care so that the cells can rebuild themselves. But chronic pain is different in a way that there is no actual injury. It could be that it's a little inflamed in the beginning, but it's also possible that it's just something that needs to be dealt with on another level. And so in any case, the brain will help you, be as well as you can be and survive. But sometimes those pain signals is just because we need to listen to our body and address it and give it what it needs.
Yeah. So a lot of times people try to cover up pain, with medications and kind of, but without really looking at why. Why is it causing you pain? I've found a lot in my journey that the brain, as you said, does work to protect you. So what I've found is that that the brain will actually, if it's protecting your programming, right? And so if you're actually trying to change something, it will send signals in your body to stop that change in that protection. So just being aware of what's happening in your body and why is critical. And you're actually doing the first work was with amputees, because what I read was that when the brain doesn't get messages from that part of the body, it starts to simulate those pain centers, trying to make everything okay, right?
Yes, yes. And the therapy I'm looking at comes from Italy. And so that therapy is done by physical therapists and occupational therapists. It's a specialization after the regular PT or occupational therapy education. And it is really helping people to regain that awareness of the body. Because what happens when a limb or a part of the body is paralyzed or is absent in the case of amputation, so when the brain does not receive that sensation information, it's the first problem is that it doesn't know anymore where those legs, say the legs are paralyzed, where the legs are in space. So the brain has a really hard time drawing that visual spatial body map and understanding where those legs are. The second thing that we see, especially with spinal cord injury and also with amputations, is that because, again, it wants us to be safe, it's going to tell, okay, Holly, I can't feel your leg. I'm going to send you a pain signal, a nerve pain signal, so that you can look at your leg, because we want to make sure there's no snake or tiger eating your leg and that we're going to die. Like, we need to make
Right.
sure that we're okay. And so that is the neuropathic pain, whether it's the phantom limb pain or the neuropathic pain, the nerve pain in people with spinal cord injury. And
Okay.
so with this therapy from Italy, we are really helping them rebuild that image of where the body's in space. And what we see is that the moment that they can recover that is the moment that the pain goes down and whatever potential they have for sensation and movement can also return to some degree. And
Yeah.
also spasms go away.
Yeah. I, it's all about awareness, right?
Yes.
It's all about that. And just so
Yes,
you,
awareness is for everyone, not just for those who have a
yeah,
spinal cord
I
injury.
think it's just, I think it's such a great example of how
Mhm.
powerful the mind is, how powerful the brain is,
Yeah.
that if you lose a limb and it's looking for where is it in space, and it'll send pains out, trying to find it or whatever. So awareness of everything, awareness of, what are these little pains in my shoulder, to bigger awarenesses of just trying to keep that the brain is trying to keep you safe.
Yeah.
What's the second part of the research that you're doing, the second piece?
So the second study is with a neurosurgeon and is for people with epilepsy. So those patients need to stay a week or 2 weeks in a hospital, and they get some electrodes on their head because the doctors need to see when they have an epilepsy where exactly it is in the brain, so they can do the surgery at that place. But that is quite how to say, like, some people don't sleep well when they are in the hospital, and they may be some anxious about the surgery. And so what we want to bring is to ask them to do Qigong, which is a mindful movement from the traditional Chinese medicine, to see if that can help them be calmer and sleep better while they are at the hospital. And
Mm-hmm.
so the other advantage is because they have those electrodes on the head, we can also see what happens in the brain when they are doing the Qigong, because we have some idea because we did MRIs in the other scanner already. So we have an idea what brain areas activate. But this would be another way to measure it. But the main thing is really to see if we can help them improve their stay, have less anxiety, better sleep
Right.
while they are in the hospital.
Yeah, that's that whole idea of integration and bringing
Yeah.
qigong into the hospital, and um, yeah, qigong and tai chi. You've been hearing all over the internet. It's been blowing up about chai tea walking, right? And just
Yes.
that very intentional movement. It keeps you in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it keeps it, when we're afraid, when we're fearful, when we're injured, when we're hurt, we tend to get stuck in that, and that can perpetuate it, right? So this particular piece of your research is what is the benefit of bringing that um, into the hospital? So yeah.
Yes, yes, and I have done already clinical trial studies in people with chronic low back pain, people with spinal cord injury with good results with Qigong. So we have some idea, and also from other studies, that Qigong is really helping calming that nervous system, bringing people in focus in the present moment. Definitely like
Yeah.
a good complementary approach. Yeah.
And before we get into the third piece, which is the Mark Noel
Mhm.
paintings, you talked about the energy that he taught you about, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so qigong is a way to calm that energy, right?
Yes, to bring harmony in the body. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. The energy is something that on a quantum level, right?
Mhm.
We know that everything vibrates, everything moves, and when you get to that level, everything's fields of probabilities. The structure or the quarks and leptons are so small that they don't actually have structure, right?
Mhm.
But and I had a guest on once that talked about the biofield that we have around us,
Mhm.
and so is that part of your work, part of your study, trying to understand how energies are affected, or is that maybe part of the third part of your study with Mark? Or
So measuring the energy will probably be in a future study.
yeah.
Uh, for now, just because, I mean, we know it exists, but the devices need to develop further. I think that is part of it. But definitely the effect of that can be measured. So we have scales and questionnaires that can allude to that and understand what the effective is of the energy and of the work. That for sure we have.
Okay. Okay. So then the third part of your research is with your mentor, Mark Noel, right? And his
Yeah.
paintings are quantum paintings, correct?
Yes, yes, and I have some behind me actually. So those are a part of quantum paintings.
And how are you going to bring that into research? I'm just fascinated.
Yes, yes. So the specificity about the quantum paintings is that Mark is using if you want Japanese calligraphy in there, so he's bringing or infusing energy in those paintings, and there are several layers. So even though you can't see them always, they are there and you can feel them. So I have tested already with some students just outside of the research, and everyone at some point feels either some tingling or some warmth or some movement. So it's not like you have to be a master in energy to be able to feel it. And so the main reason actually, or the main focus of the fellowship was in what they call the neuro arts. It's a new research field that looks at brain science and also evidence-based research on everything related to arts. Can be music, can be dance, can be visual arts. And so this is a very recent field. There is a big NIH-driven also initiative that started in 2021. So that's how recent it is, where
Amazing. Yeah.
so many researchers and artists are working together to really bring this science in there. And so this is one of the projects. So to use those quantum paintings in person, so people will feel it in person. But Mark Noel also has a virtual platform on what they call the metaverse, which is a big platform where you have different rooms if you want that you can develop, where he has his gallery and other rooms in there that you can visit with a headset and with hand controllers. And so the goal or the advantage of such a virtual platform is that he also adds animations driven with artificial intelligence. So he can even bring more magic than is already available in the physical paintings. And the goal, I have two populations, two groups that I want to test these quantum paintings with. One is students who have anxiety and stress, because especially since the COVID. But we see now there was a big study on 100,000 students showing that about 1/3 of students, college students, have depression and anxiety, sometimes even up to 40%, which is a lot.
Yes,
And
that
I
is.
think it's even increased. I mean, it's very prevalent, especially since COVID. I think that students are dealing with those mental health issues. And so I want to see how these paintings in person as well as on the metaverse can help them calm down, find a grounding. Because another feature of those paintings is that now you see them in daylight, but when you see them under a UV light, a purple light, a whole other layer comes up. And there are different colors. It's just a magical world. And then when you put them in the full dark, there is the paint emits light. And so you see again something else happening. So there are different ways that you can interact and feel into those paintings.
So when he's painting them, it's actually what I read is he's putting the chi, right,
Yeah,
into
yeah,
each stroke.
correct. Hmm.
right? So embedding, imbibing, or whatever's the right word, with each stroke with energy.
Yes, and that's what we can actually perceive when we hold our hand close, or when we are in proximity of it, or even when we see it in a digital form.
Okay. All right. Well, like we talked about potentially having Mark on the podcast would be. I
Yeah.
did watch the video you sent out. Completely amazing about creating your life and understanding that energy and so forth. So I would love that. So in general, you've been, like you talked about. It was the Japanese studies, or when you were young, they got you interested in this. And so as far as you've gone now with your research and with all that's coming up in the world right now, in this cusp of, I can't remember what you called that new field of
Neuro
study,
art.
neuro
Yeah.
art. Yeah. So awareness of the body is way under not undervalued, but there's just not enough out there, right?
Right, right. And about that, I wanted to say, so I was saying that I had two populations, two groups that I looked at. So one was the students,
Uh-huh.
and the other one is adults with spinal cord injury.
Uh-huh.
Because when I put on that headset myself to go in the virtual world, I
Mhm.
realized that you don't see your avatar, that virtual body, but
Yeah.
that you are the avatar. And so as I was explaining that the brain of people who are paralyzed have difficulty understanding where their body's in space,
Yeah.
now this brain gets a vivid experience of what it feels like to walk again and to
Mm.
jump again and to move in this area. And so I'm going to check, aside from their mental health, also how their brain is reacting to the awareness of the body in the metaverse and when they interact with the quantum paintings.
That is so fascinating. I read a book on lucid dreaming once,
Hmm.
and it's similar. When you're lucid in a dream, people that are paralyzed can go skiing, right? The brain,
Yeah,
when it's perceiving the body differently, um, yeah, has so much more it can do. That's fascinating.
yeah, because I think the once we can demonstrate efficacy and all that, that could be a priming for rehab centers that
Yeah.
they just put on this headset before they get the therapy to just prime their brain. So I think there are a lot of good potential results with those paintings. Just like now we have classical music and art in the clinics,
Yeah.
to have that addition of the quantum paintings. Yeah,
But not just for people with epilepsy or with missing
exactly.
limbs.
Yeah,
This is
for everyone, for everyone.
right. This
Yeah.
is can calm anxieties, and
Yeah.
I heard a clip as I was scrolling about how nature itself is very healing and wise,
Yes,
and
yes.
science is just now starting to recognize how walking out, going for a walk, meditation, deep breathing, qigong, all of those things are so powerful to bring you back to the present moment
Yeah,
and out of that, of the chaos and of the fear center, the amygdala. Be interesting to see what parts of the brain light up with the qigong, um, and the more you live, with those kind of practices in your life, the less time you're spending in that fear center, and that
yeah,
actually changes the brain, the gray matter of the brain, through meditation, through these practices. So
yeah, for sure. And what I learned from Mark, because obviously I want to evolve and be the best person I can be, is that thoughts are so powerful. And
yes,
so obviously when we're not aware of how we live and how we think, then we will take on what we have learned or what the environment has shown us. But then when we do have that introspection and like analysis of ourselves, and we can make a choice of,
yes,
hey, when I think about this, like my stomach is like and so we can
mm-hmm.
make a choice to think in a different way, or we can make a choice what to watch on television to
Yes.
help us like be in a better place.
We have so much more power over that than we give ourselves credit for. Otherwise you're on autopilot. And the more you're in that, the more sensitive, the stronger those pathologies get. I have I've had issues with my stomach for years, and I just wake up, and if I even start thinking, and sometimes, like even this morning, I'm really working on paying attention to it. I didn't even have to start thinking; it just goes into that clinch, because that awareness that you can choose, right?
Yes, yes, and that's where I received like tools to work with that, which is to observe and not to judge. And
Yeah,
that's where I think a lot of power can be taken out from there, because otherwise it's a vicious circle of, oh yeah, you feel your stomach and it's like, oh, I can, and then you start judging yourself and it gets worse and worse. But if you
yeah,
can get to a place of just, and obviously Qigong and mindfulness and all that
yeah.
helps too,
Well,
but
John
it's
Kabat,
that observation without judgment.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a very John Kabat-Zinn's very definition of mindfulness itself. It's
Yes.
moment to moment, curious, but non-judgmental awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so if someone's listening to this now and they're just, interested in the research you've done in the power of the mind, what kind of, if they want to maybe take a first step, I mean, we already talked about mindfulness, Qigong. What practices have been helpful for you, or what would you recommend for them?
Yes. So for me, there are several things. First, be mindful of my thoughts. If I catch, old patterns, that I can catch it and make a conscious decision to choose a new way.
Mhm.
Another easy tool, I think, is just if you're sitting, say, at a computer or you're watching television, and you feel like you were saying, like your stomach is churning, or you're getting into a thought that you can't get out of, is to focus on, okay, so what parts of my body are touching the seat or the couch, and really get into that sensation of the body. Often that helps stop that programming and
Mhm.
just get you back into the present moment. And
Mhm.
that's an easy thing, or like, how are my feet on the floor, or any part of the body that is in contact with like gravity that
Yeah.
helps you be in the moment, in the present moment, and out of past or future, which is usually where
Where all the
the
suffering is
struggle
and
comes
thoughts.
from,
All the
right?
thoughts are there, right? All your
Yeah,
past
yeah.
thoughts. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're preaching to the choir here, because that's what my prayer love practices are about. Pledge to make the habit of watching your mind, evaluate what you find there, and then recognize those things as they come up. So, well, when this airs 2 or 3 months down the road, I'll be very curious to see where you're at with things. Ultimately, what is your goal? Is to bring this more to the more general population, your findings, or your kind of, well, it sounds similar, unless I'm putting words in your mouth, that my goal is to just inform people of how powerful they are to make choices. But
Yes.
yeah, so down there, 10 years from now, where do you hope to see this work?
Oh, so in both ways, like I definitely want to continue doing the research. I'm passionate about research, to bring that like intent understanding of how the body works and how we can help people get better and heal themselves, for sure. And also do clinical trials and research that helps people down the road. So it's not just for the knowledge itself, it is to then implement in the clinics, implement in the rehab centers, bring it to communities, provide tools that are accessible cost wise, and place wise, that people also who live in a rural location can actually access those tools to help
Yeah,
themselves. That's
yeah,
definitely a
yeah,
goal, and obviously spread the word
yeah.
like I'm doing here on the podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here today. Things like Tai Chi walking, right? It's something that's available to anyone. Watch a video for 5 minutes and you can do it. It's good for your health. It's good for your balance. It's good to bring you in the present moment. So many things that are available to us here that we just haven't had the awareness to do. So thank you so much, Anne, for
Thank
the work that you're doing, and ultimately helping people find a lot of relief for their suffering. So how do
you.
people get a hold of you if they have any questions or comments? Or
Yes, so everyone can find me on my website, and it's called the Brain Body Mind Lab. So if people Google it and University of Minnesota, they should find it easily. I have my email on there. I don't know if you have an option to put it somewhere, but
Yes, yes. We'll definitely put your email and your link in the description, and we can also put it across the screen the day that we're actually airing.
of your
Well,
viewers.
best of luck getting the research funding for this, and
You?
I look forward to hearing how things are going. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Anne, for being
Thank
here
you.
with us today. And if you're listening to this, I hope it really, for me, just the research that's going on now at universities is so, it's so uplifting to know that maybe some of the solutions to a lot of our health problems were right there all along in our mind-body connection and the awareness. And it's all about paying attention. So thank you, listeners, for coming today, and I'll see you on another episode of Pay Attention. Here we go. Wow, thank you. First of all, I want to apologize for those listening live. I did my own editing, which is my own fault, instead of letting my producer do it. So the volume changed, my apologies. But Anne, wow, thank you for all your work. And I think, right now, people really, really need to hear that connection we all have. So.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and it was possible, right, through the Bakken Center. So I want to get to Virginia here in a minute, but I really appreciate in your work, and I think more and more needs of this type of research needs to happen more and more. That East versus West,
Mhm.
and that and then we talked about in the future, understanding that energy around us and how we're all connected. So how's it going with your research or with the fundraising? And it's been a couple months now, as we talked about. Is it closer to becoming reality?
Yes, yes. So the documents are in for the ethical committee. I'm 1 week away from submitting a grant for the neuro arts and spinal cord injury. So yeah, things are moving forward. I'm very, very excited to bring this out, to work on it, and then obviously in a later phase to implement it
Yeah.
in the community.
So important. And again, I was just like a random email came through months ago, and it was from my alma mater, the University of Minnesota. And they talked about John Kabat-Zinn coming for the 30th anniversary of the Bakken Center, which I said, as I said, I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm sorry. What the heck is this? So, anyway, Virginia, I want to give you a couple of minutes to talk about this amazing Center
Mhm.
for Healing Spirituality, for what people can do to support work like Ann's, and it's just so important. So I'm going to give you the stage for just tell us what people can do if they're interested in this type of really connecting, building this bridge.
Well, thank you. I appreciate, well, first, Anne, that was marvelous. So thank you for sharing your work. And
Well, the
Holly,
two of them just met today. I didn't realize that.
well, we've passed each other, but I don't think we've actually been, introduced to each other. But
Well, we have a place for that. Yeah.
I think what you said, Holly, is so important that the research in this integrative and well-being space is incredibly important. The world is a little chaotic. Probably shouldn't put the word little in front of that. And a fellowship, which is what Anne received, is really one of the wonderful ways that you can support this kind of innovative work. A fellowship, by the way, is one of the most important, powerful ways a donor can create a lasting impact now or far into the future. It gives visionary faculty like Anne protected time and support they need to pursue bold, early stage ideas that often wouldn't be possible to pursue without that support. Just as importantly, a fellowship reflects a donor's values in action, belief in people, in possibility, and in the whole person approaches to healing. It's a way to invest in ideas that may shape care for generations, creating a legacy that lives on through research, education, and improved well being long beyond our lifetime. If you'd like more information, I'm sure they're going to share some information about how you can contact me. But it is just a powerful way for you to think about legacy and impact. And I just couldn't be more grateful for joining all of you today.
Yeah, legacy. I mean, I think about. I was telling them at the beginning, I might get emotional here, but my son and daughter-in-law are in Minnesota, and they're going to have kids, and I hope that this time can be looked back on as a time of great healing. and understanding and connection, because all the pieces are there, and it's work like yours, and that really brings that out. So yeah, thank you. Any closing words? Anything else you guys want to say to those listeners out there?
Well, yes, I mean, to that point, I think obviously what happened is horrific. And at the same time, I also see people come together. I see connecting with people, people helping each other out, and finding those ways to, get to the grounding, get in contact, take care of yourself and of others. It's so important. And I think Minnesota is a good example of brave people who show that in these trying times.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And Virginia, you said a lot of people are coming to the Bakken Center and asking, like, where do I find my grounding?
yeah, that, put on your own oxygen first is such a cliche thing to say, but we're just getting inundated with people looking for tools and resources that they can do to take charge of their own health. And so please do visit the Bakken Center for Spiritual and Healing website. You'll find lots of community programming, a large number which are free or on a sliding scale. So we make them very, accessible to everybody who wants to participate.
All right. Well, the two of you, thank you so much for coming today. And thank you for sharing your work. And we do actually have Mark Noel coming on next week, and will be here with us again next week. So it's perfect timing for that connectedness, that energy. Thank you, Anne, for your work, Virginia and the Bakken Center for all that you do. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone.
And thanks everyone for joining me for this episode of Pay Attention. It's really been heart opening and healing just to be here. I hope you found it the same way for you. So in these trying times, take a deep breath. Feel that calm, that peace within you. It's within all of us. And I will see you next week with Anne and Mark here on Pay Attention.
Thanks for watching Pay Attention with Holly McNEILL. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week on Wednesday at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern.